This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Welcome to the Real Estate Debate, where we debate the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. Let's meet today's panelists. Guest number 1, Courtney Costello, Realtor for Pacific Sotheby's International Realty.
It really just depends on what that motivation factor is and what their intention is with selling, depending on the advice that I would give them.
Guest number 2, Bryan Devore, Realtor for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties.
If you're looking to sell your home with not a lot of competition, then actually it's a good time to sell during the holidays.
Guest number 3, Scott Ryan, Realtor for Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage.
If you need to sell, then go ahead and do it, but make sure you price it right. But in general, you want to wait until probably the early spring or just as we come out of winter.
And guest number 4, Joe Corbisiero, Real Estate Professional for Whistle Realty.
So you do want to sell your house before the holidays, absolutely. People that are going to be on the market right now, they're going to be buying for sure. And they will pay top dollars for it if your home is worth it.
All right, here we are. Welcome to the Real Estate Debate for
Thank
TV. Welcome back, Scott, Bryan, previous champions when we used to do trophies on this show. Courtney, Joe, welcome for the first time.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you guys here today. Of course, we'll be debating the hottest topics in San Diego real estate. 2 topics on the table today, one for buyers, one for sellers. Please tell us why you agree or disagree and why. We'll let you jump in on the first one here. Topic number 1, if you're thinking about selling your home right now, is not a good time. We're talking late September is where we are. Right now is not a good time. Better to wait until after the holidays when more buyers will be in the market. Who wants to take it?
Somebody
Raising hands
Here's
here.
the fact. If you don't sell your house by October, you might as well cancel Christmas. Because I brought some stats with me today.
Oh, here
if
we
you
go.
look at, listen, this is
Numbers
your equity
don't
having
lie.
a heart attack during the holidays right here. Look at it. This is the number of pending sales in the entire MLS right before January, December. So obviously the inventory is way down during that time of year as well, so you're going to have less sales. But look at, this is another great stat. Look at this. Average market time, you have, houses stay on the market much longer during that time of year. So, as we exit those spring, summer months. And then finally you have, this is the best one, I love this, average percentage of original list price. In the spring markets, you can see this is in 2011, 2012, 2013. 2013 is obviously our best year of percentage of list price to sales price. But during the spring, on average, most people will get 2 to 3% more of list price than they do during the
Winter.
December and that time of year.
So I have a question.
Equity having a heart attack. Is
Equity attack.
They're like, okay.
So what are those stats for the county?
Yeah, so you have basically, this is San Diego County right here. This is the entire MLS for average market time. Actually, this last graph I showed.
Bryan, do you want to challenge?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to challenge. I want to add to it. I think, Scott's points are great. I think we also have to remember, though, that, and I've said this before, real estate is so hyper-local that you really have to take a look at specific markets. So, for example, the stats that I brought out.
Oh, my goodness.
So, as Derrick knows, I'm in the 92009 zip code of Carlsbad. A lot of my business is there. In October of last year, there were 107 homes for sale, 2.2 months of inventory, which is already ridiculously low. In November, 87 homes, which is 1.8 months of inventory. December, 71 homes, 1.5 months of inventory. Then January starts ticking back up, 77 months, February 83. Why wouldn't you want to list your home when there's less competition?
Exactly.
So there's less competition.
I agree with that.
And what I have also found,
There might be less buyers.
I've sold homes on Christmas.
But you're going to have more serious buyers because
Exactly.
any buyers looking during the Christmas or holiday season,
Right.
they know that they can be with their family or they can be working on other projects, but their focus is on buying that home. So they're going to be more serious buyers, not this whole pool of buyers that are just kind of in the flow of
Tire
summer or
kickers.
spring. Exactly.
Right, to piggyback on
Exactly.
that, she's totally right. I mean, you have less buyers, that's true, but there's less competition. Like
Yep.
you just mentioned that.
Right.
Lower inventory, which means more money in your pocket. One thing I like to say all the time, Scott, and I love stats and everything. I'm not a analytic guy, but I feel like every time I look at stats, yes, it is true, it's an indication, but it's like driving your car and you're looking at a rear view mirror. Does it really matter what happened? Does it? We're driving.
Right.
We're
We're
heading
living now
towards
in the
something
present.
new. I mean, you have to pay attention to what's happening right now.
What's the
Elections
pulse?
coming up. Number one, do we have a crystal ball? Do we know what's going to happen? We don't know. I'd rather not have to roll my dice and just know what's happening now. If I have a client asking me, what do you think about selling my house now? I'd be like, let's do it. Like you guys
Well,
said.
what's best for the client, what's best for their personal, their personal plan and their personal path may not be, coinciding with the market or what's going on with the election, or we can have all these predictions, but at the end of the day, what's most important is that client, what's best for them. If they have to sell right then because they have to be relocated, or there might be something going on in their life, or they need that cash from the equity, I mean, we just have to maximize at that time and that time of the year, and having a great agent behind them that's going to guide them along that process and market it correctly to the right audience or putting them in the right places. It doesn't really matter stats or what time of the year it is. It's what's best for that client.
Well,
Sure.
That's
Hold on a second here. I want to give Scott a chance because you guys seem to have ganged up on him here.
We're agreeing.
What about your equity having a heart attack? I want
I mean,
to.
so I'll go back to the original question. The original question is, I'm a seller. I'm thinking about selling my house now. Yes, everyone has different life, changes,
Right.
and if you need to sell, then great. But if they're asking the question, is now a good time to sell my house? If you don't sell by October, I mean, you can see it in these graphs where we had that spring rush on. I'm talking percentage of list price to sales price, right? It's proven fact that in the depths of our winter market, you're not going to get the same amount of money that you're going to get in the spring.
But that just may mean that the people are not listing their house appropriately priced. That means nothing, really. I mean, I can get 100% of my list price if I underprice my house. So it's kind of a misleading stat. But to your point, though, about the question is thinking of selling my home, not have to sell my home. If you have to sell your home, well, then you got to get the house on the market. If you're just thinking about it, then you need to consult with them and say, okay, well, what do you want to do for the holidays? Yeah. Well, we really don't want to have a lot of people through my home. We want to celebrate the holidays. Then don't put your home on the market. Really understand what it is their needs and wants are. Like you said, what's best for them. At the end of the day,
that's number one.
And then the other question is, wait till after the holidays. When? January, February, April? So you have to look at that too and say, okay, well, we're going to start seeing more inventory.
What's going to be better?
What's going to be better? When do you want to do it? So it's not just a before and after. It's how much before and then how much after.
Did anybody look up average price per square foot?
For which, because it changes per city.
That's,
like La Jolla is completely different than
and the problem with
Rancho
that too
Bernardo. We
is
know this.
I started doing that, but then I realized we're in an escalating market right now, so it's kind of hard. You can't really. It's not going like this. It's still kind of going like this. So it's really hard to gauge, which month is better because it may be better in December versus it was in October simply because the prices are going up.
Well, if there is right now I think it's tough for a lot of home sellers because, and even agents, feel a little bit of a slowdown.
Of course.
Happening. Is it cyclical or is it more macro and just so happens to be lining up with, the fourth quarter? Right. Yeah, that's kind of that's the big question mark. What do you guys think about that? Anybody have an opinion?
I feel like, I don't know, it could be cyclical, but at the same time, we're used to have a pool of buyers or clients that we work with. Right. Then at the end of the day, 3 out of 5, they're going to end up buying or selling. Now you have 5, but all 5 are serious. People that are on the market right now, they're really serious, especially the buyers. They missed out the opportunity during the summer, now they want to buy. There's no other ways. Sellers on the other end, I always recommend this. If they're willing to list the property during the holidays, Christmas and whatnot, how beautiful does your home look when it's all decorated and you're taking professional pictures and it smells good? It's amazing. A buyer that has some sort of motivation of buying during the holiday season and steps in this beautiful home all decorated, it's a wow factor.
Well, right. And like I said, it is hyper-local because like in my area, there's companies relocating employees. A lot of times they're actually relocating them in December. They can get in by year end. Right. So they want to get their people in and looking at homes. So
before the busy season for their work.
So we actually may get demand actually spike a little bit towards the end of November and December.
So?
I know so. I've had that happen year after year.
You think that you're feeling that this year?
Yeah. Well, it's not December yet. I can't tell you.
Well, Captain Obvious.
But I think right now a lot of sellers had a great spring market.
We did.
We still have low inventory, but it just seems to me, and I'm just one person, one opinion, it seems to me that now the buyers are getting, with prices escalated the way they have, they're getting a little bit more picky.
Yeah.
If
I agree.
If they're going to pay a retail price, and I'm talking a high retail price for a home, they want everything fixed. They want the house in perfect condition. So those houses that are just, I'd say, average or below average homes that are asking top dollar, you're seeing them sitting on the market longer. So I think there's a bigger picture as we wind down into the fourth quarter, you're going to have a cyclical nature of houses coming off the market, people trying to resell them in the spring, that sort of thing. But if you're a seller that has to sell, you got to make sure that you got your home priced right. Because if you don't, and it's not in tip-top shape, you're not going to get the days of multiple offers and that sort of thing on most homes right now are fairly gone. You know, if a house is a hot property, priced well, top condition, you're still seeing a pool of buyers come into your property. But
getting those multiple
if you're trying to
offers.
ask that springtime price right now in this fourth quarter, it's not going to happen if your house is
Well, I think
dated
the
house.
pricing strategy counts. I mean, no matter what, if it's
course.
summer, spring, or winter, if you're overpriced, you're not going to have showings. If you don't have people at the door, you're not going to have offers. Period.
Right.
Same thing in the way you you showcasing your home. It's interesting. There's 24,000 agents in San Diego. Yeah, 24,000 agents. So they still take pictures with their iPhone.
I know.
I saw
No
one today.
staging a home. I mean, it's ridiculous. Of course, it's going to expire. Of course,
Spend a
you're not
little
going to
bit
get
more
an
money,
offer.
show
Right.
the home well
I mean-
for your clients. They're counting
Right.
on you to sell their
So
house. So
one thing we didn't
agree
talk
with
about
that.
is the interest rates. Where they're gonna go? Where are we heading to? Right now we're like what, 3.25%, 3.5%? Huh?
Still
Maybe
great.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Still
I think they're
great.
going to be inched up. They won't go up too much.
I
They're going to
agree.
be inched up
Right.
slightly.
That's a high purchasing power to buyers, to borrowers. I mean, they can afford now a little more.
So it's still a great time for buyers to buy
Exactly.
right now.
Absolutely.
So bottom line, they're still getting those lower interest rates. So regardless of the time of the year, there's still houses for sale. If a seller wants to sell and a buyer wants to buy, there's a deal to be made.
All right, I'm going to call a truce. I think
We're not
I
fighting.
think Scott did a good job of actually bringing up an important point about the fact that there seems to be a little less demand.
Of course.
And watch out for your equity to have a heart attack in the fourth quarter potentially, because it depends on where you are. Not everyone has a beautiful house in Christmas. You know what I mean? Like if you do, that's one thing, but not everybody has that. And a lot of these sellers have dated homes that really need like 30,000 to get to the point where buyers are going to be like willing to to sign on the dotted line today.
Right.
And sellers I don't think are ready to shell out that 30,000 right now. So, all right, let's keep this momentum going. Jump into topic number 2. This one is for buyers. If you're a buyer, you should always have your agent with you when you go to open houses. Who wants to take that one?
Yes and yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think it's beneficial. We as an agent, we have to really pay attention to details and not just the marketplace, but we have to pay attention to the home, the needs of our clients, and if it doesn't work out for that particular client, we have to let them know. So I believe that, it's pretty much like going to court without an attorney if you don't show up to the open house. That's
pretty serious. Scotty?
I'm going to disagree. So this is kind of the way I do it. I think so much has changed with technology that, I mean, we all hold open houses, right? And how many buyers that come to those open houses are with their agents?
Very small percentage.
Very small
percentage, yeah.
So technology has changed to where the internet has allowed people to be more flexible in how they look at real estate. They look at it online. I meet with every client and I set the expectation. We have a consultation. Say, listen, this is where you find real estate. If you find an open house or you find an advertisement, if there's a big giant balloon over the house, the best deal in the history of life, you call me. Sure, you can walk into the open house. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a stack of my business cards. As soon as you walk to the open house, just say, listen, I have an agent. I'd love to look at the home. Here's my agent, and his name is Scott Ryan. Here's his card. That way that agent can follow me for feedback once you see the open house. And we're all busy, I understand. I have a client now that I just sold a house in North Park. They're in escrow. They went to the open house without me because I was at kids' soccer games doing my stuff. They're like, Scott, and we know you're busy. The only time in life we could look at this property was today, and we know we just called you an hour ago. Is it okay if we go to the open house? Sure, no problem. They ended up buying the property. The next day I went and previewed the property for them. We looked at it together a third time together, and then they made an offer. So I think allowing the buyer some flexibility to go hunt on their own. Maybe they don't know the area. Maybe they just want to go explore Carlsbad. I'm sure they're going to run into Bryan. But at the end of the day, they're going to call me to make an offer, hopefully. Right, Bryan?
Absolutely.
I got a question for you.
Counting
So
on
you said a
loyalty.
bunch of buyers come over without their agents. How many
Without.
actually buyers did you acquire thanks to that at the open house?
You know, I always ask people, I never want to steal another client from an agent, but I always ask them, are you currently working with an agent?
Right.
And if they say, no, I'm not, or I've just started looking, that's your opportunity. But it happened this past weekend. I had a great conversation at the end of it. Are you working with an agent? Yeah, I'm working with Shannon Hagan, a Coldwell Banker. Shannon's a great friend of mine. I said, you know what? You are in the best hands ever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think if you ask enough questions, you're able to decipher who's working with an agent and who's not. I mean, obviously you're in the business of representing your seller at that open house, and you want to get that property sold. So whether it's through another agent or representing that buyer,
You want to get it sold no matter what. But I noticed that a lot of buyers don't like the fact that the agent is too busy during the weekend to take them around.
I agree.
You set the
both.
expectation ahead of
You
time.
know,
I do that. I do the consultation. I give them a stack of business cards too, and actually I have showing assistants. I have 2-3 guys that just work for me and they show homes even if I'm not available. So that's the way we're putting the business together, and they appreciate it. Absolutely. And I know this, if they come without an agent, say, oh, my agent was busy, was on vacation. You hear that all the times, don't you?
Yeah.
He's on vacation or he's busy with soccer practice and whatnot, and they end up buying with you. So
You go ahead, because
So-
I think you're on the same page.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with both of them in a sense because, first of all, like what Scott was saying, having that respect for that other agent. Whenever I ask, are you working with another agent? And they say, yes, it's my brother, it's my sister, it's my whoever it may be. I don't care if it's their family member or, their Joe Schmo, whoever it may be, it doesn't matter. Having that respect for those other agents in this industry and allowing them to continue with their agent, I believe creates this kind of dynamic in our industry, which we need to capitalize on and grow in, which is respecting that other agent and going, you know what? Yes, Scott is great. Even if you don't know them, awesome. You're in the greatest hands. I'm so happy that you're working with someone that is, pointing you in the right direction. So I completely agree with that. If you have your consultation, if you create this value and experience from day one with them, they're going to have that loyalty to you no matter what. So you can send them anywhere, and they know that you're the best and that you're going to take them under their wing. And if you send them to one open house, what I actually do is if they say, oh, I want to go to this open house, and I'm with another client or I'm holding my open house for my sellers open, I'll call the agent and preface that conversation. And I'm like, hey, look, Diane, I have my buyers coming to you. This is their first and last name. I'm their agent. Let me know if there's any interest or if there's anything that comes up that I can kind of piggyback off of and kind of close that deal for you.
And most agents out there will respect that. And they'll say,
Yeah.
no problem.
You're being
I got it
proactive,
covered.
you're following up. It's hard to be in 20 places at once, and you need that work-life balance. And I think your clients appreciate that you care about your kids' soccer games, and they can relate to that, and they love that you're a real person and that you're not just this commission-hungry person. On the other flip side, it's so important that we're there with our clients at those open houses because we're their agent, right? We're the ones selling that property for what's either great for them or not great for them. And having that transparency during that showing is so important because they can walk through that house and they don't see the vision there. We're the ones with the vision. We're the ones with the experience. So if we're with them, we're like, hey, look, you knocked down this one wall or we changed all the flooring and the paint. And this is exactly what you've been talking about. Look, it's got the, the character that you've been looking for. So it's really kind of being with them and creating that experience at the open house is so important. On the flip side, you can send them no problem if you do your due diligence and your work.
Doesn't it depend on what kind of market we're in too? Because if it's a really hot market where they might be needing to write an offer, then it's a different
Yeah,
story.
choosing a listing agent's probably a good thing to do, right?
Creating friends.
Agent relationships are huge, and that's why
It's
you got to be nice
huge.
to every agent out there. Even if it's somebody maybe you've had an issue with before, maybe
They may have a buyer for your listing.
You just
and
never
vice
know.
versa.
So I think
Be good to
sometimes
everyone.
agents. When I take listings, I hold everything off till the first open house. So I'll do a bunch of pre-marketing and lead everybody to that first open house. And oftentimes you get the agents because that's the first opportunity for any buyer to actually see the
Right.
property.
Right.
So it's a chance for me to meet the agent,
Yeah.
see what they're about,
Off
meet the buyer.
market kind of thing right before it hits the market.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it depends. I hate to say
Yeah.
depends,
Well,
but I think it
but the
does.
question you asked was, is it always?
Yeah.
And always and never are always tricky. Always tricky. Because there's no, you can't broad brush or broad stroke this market and how you work with your clients. Every situation is going to be different. I've had clients who have just gone in on their own to the open houses, like you said, and they bought that home. If I'm with another client or can't do it, if they give me a call, a lot of times it happens the way the internet is right now. They're keyed in with our searches, right? They have the client gateway set up. As soon as that house hits the market, they got to go see that house today because they know it's a one story in Carlsbad. It's going to go fast.
Right.
And I'm on the other side of town or something like that. They got to get in there. So I'll call the agent as well. But we're the ones who do know what it is that they want and what they need in a home and can consult with them. And what doesn't work for them also, they may be thinking the house is amazing because it looks great, but they're not seeing what's underneath it. And we have to point out the negatives as well. It's not just the positives. So I think, like you said, it's ideally, yes. If you can go, it's definitely the best way to go. It can't always work that way. So if you're strategic about it, then you can still be successful and they can be successful.
All right. Great stuff. Fantastic points. Thank you all so much for coming
Thank
today.
you.
That was
Thank
an
you.
amazing real estate debate. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
Our next guest is here to discuss the concerns of mold in your home.
It can be an issue that really derails a transaction, and I want to put it into perspective.
Please welcome back from the real estate inspection company, Philippe Heller.
There he is.
How are ya?
What's up, man?
Fabulous.
The real estate inspection company. Philippe Heller is here. Philippe, today we're going to talk about the M word, the word mold. A lot of people hear this word and they think, oh, you've got to quarantine the house. Tell us the truth behind what's going on with mold.
Right. It can really throw a wrench in a transaction. When an inspector comes in, a lot of inspectors won't even mention the word, even if they see it, because they're worried about messing up the deal. All our guys are certified, and so we do bring that up. We'd rather, for everybody involved, bring it up at the beginning of the transaction rather than at the end or afterwards. Now, a lot of times it gets way overblown when it's a small little spot of mold, let's say next to a shower door or something, just a simple remediation of just that little area, but they'll get remediation companies in there that blow it way out of proportion. So we like to keep it contained.
See, that's what I've heard. Sometimes you say, oh, there's mold, it's going to be 10 grand at least, 15,000. Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Where you get a third-party company comes in and says, oh, the insurance is going to pay for this, so.
Yes, and they bill the insurance companies huge dollars. You get the big companies, remediation companies, and they know they can play the game and run up the bill, and they charge, it's like a hospital where they charge you $10 for an aspirin. They know if they use a pair of booties, they're going to charge you a lot of money. And they throw out very big numbers. In some of these cases, it's very easy to clean up. It's very easy to contain or to repair the actual mold. Now, in some cases, it's much worse, and remediation is justified.
But that's in a very extreme circumstance is what you're telling me.
Usually it's something that is persistent, something that's gone on for a long period of time, like bad irrigation, bad drainage, a leak, let's say under a shower pan, that's been leaking either under the house in a crawl space or within the cavity of the ceiling in a two-story house, and it's been going on for a long, long time, and now the wood's damaged. Those can be really significant repairs, in which case you do want to get a qualified remediation contractor.
Okay, well, let's say it's the typical situation. It's a little bit of mold, it's a shower, it's behind a toilet or whatever it may be. You encounter this, you're inspecting a home, or one of your guys is inspecting a home, they encounter this. What are the steps to take to see what the severity is, or
Sure.
is it really something that needs to have that much money spent on it?
Yeah, well, the cause of mold is almost always moisture. So we look for moisture, and anytime you hire a mold inspector, they should include an inspection of the house to try and find the source of the moisture. Mold follows the moisture. And so there are several things we do. We have electronic moisture meters, and we're looking at plumbing, and we use our thermal cams, which we've had on the show before. And that's critical process in finding out what's causing the mold. Then there's the cleanup. If you do see some drywall, and here's a simple rule. If it's a porous material that has mold on it, it needs to be cut out and replaced. Bleach is not a proper cleaning method to get rid of mold. People do that, they spray some bleach on it and they think it's done. That's only good for solid surfaces like tile, or if it's in a toilet perhaps where mold can grow.
So bleach is not the solution.
It is
for mold.
not a proper solution.
A lot of people think that.
Correct. If it's a porous material, wood, drywall, anything like that, it needs to be cut out and removed. It's the only way to get rid of it.
Okay. So you guys go in and look for moisture, do the testing.
Yes.
And then obviously, when you're doing an inspection, you're doing it typically, unless someone's doing a pre-listing inspection, which is highly recommended if you're going to sell a home.
Correct.
Most of the time you're doing inspections for the buyers.
Yes.
So you're wanting to tell them, you are there to tell them what is the severity of the issues with this property. And you're telling me that most of the time it's not that big a deal, it's a small fix that's needed.
Yeah, we almost all have some little spot of mold somewhere in our house. And it has to do, there's so much with condensation and fresh air exchange. And one of the biggest things we see is, for an example, in a smaller, older house where it's a large family, everyone's trying to get ready in one bathroom. And in older homes, they didn't have power vents. And people keep that bathroom closed up. The walls are wringing wet by the time everyone's done getting ready. And they close that door so the steam doesn't go out in the rest of the house. And that's where you typically find mold buildup. The constant dampness, it triggers a mold problem. Or it could be in a laundry room. You've had issues in a laundry room with poorly vented dryer, and that could lead to a significant mold problem over time.
Yeah, it's something I have to keep an eye on because I know if that pipe there that's taking the air out, if it doesn't sit just perfectly on the exit there,
Correct.
then it's going to be shooting a lot of heat, which
And
is going to create moisture in there. So I have to keep a close eye on that thing as a result. What are some of the toys you brought in today? Is this some of the stuff you guys use to figure out what's going on?
It is. Like I said, all of our inspectors are certified mold inspectors, and so they're looking for causes of mold. And we include that visual mold assessment free with every inspection. So it's part of what we do. And that brings up any issues that we might find. If something comes up, we're all ready to test for it. And there's a couple of testing methods. There's really two basic kind of testing types. There's air testing, and that's where you can't see the actual mold, but maybe you smell something or you're suspicious, or somebody in the family who's going to live there has some health problems, and you just want to make sure that the air is clean and it's not going to affect their health. In which case, we use a small pump. This really is just a pump on a timer, essentially, and we can adjust the air flow. And we pump a certain amount of air through this little canister, and there's a little tiny slide in there that's a bit sticky, just like when we were in chemistry class in high school. And any particulates will get stuck on that slide after running this for a few minutes. We tape it up. That's what gets sent to the lab and for evaluation. They'll tell you how much pollen, how much dust, how much dander, skin.
I'm going to do that in my house, just FYI sake.
And then, of course, if there are mold spores, they'll tell you that. And we also take samples outside and inside because we have to compare it to something. So if you live by the beach or you have a lush house in Rancho Santa Fe and it's very damp and there are some molds outside, which is natural, if it's the same level inside the house as outside, it's probably not a big deal. You want to make sure that the mold counts aren't really high inside compared to outside, because that means there's something originating in the house. Now, if there is visible mold under a sink or on a wall, we have a couple of ways to collect that. And that's a more direct collection method called bulk sampling. And this is like one of those slides I was referring to from chemistry class.
Looks just
Remember
like
that?
it, yeah.
Except it's sticky. So we pull this off and press it on and actually collect what we see. And then this gets also sent to the lab for evaluation.
And then if it's a physical sample.
Correct. And then if it's a harder to reach area, you may have seen something like this on TV where they collect it. It's a swab. It's just like a giant Q-tip, and this lets us get behind a cabinet or behind baseboards, which is a common location for air to get trapped in moisture. And then we put it in here, and then this gets sent off to the lab. So it's a pretty simple process.
It's like a DNA kit here, It's
very similar.
CSI,
product.
I think, just showed up. But that's what you really need it, because when you're looking for mold, it's something you can't see with the eyes. I mean, you can sometimes see, what
Number one
looks
way
to
we
be.
find it is you walk into a place that's been closed up and you can smell it almost immediately.
You smell it, okay.
And if you walk into a house and let's say it's been closed up for a couple of days, or maybe it's not lived in at the moment, and you walk in before everyone opens up all the windows, smell it. And if it smells musty and moldy, there could be a mold issue in the house.
And this goes all the way from those small little issues that just requires an easy repair, all the way to really, really big problems, potentially. So if you're buying a house, you really need to know, first of all of the things that you guys do when you're checking a home, but the mold is crucial because it could be a big issue.
Super critical to get an inspector who knows how to check for moisture. That should be a primary concern of theirs. Number two, if they're certified to collect mold, that means that they've been trained in how to inspect for it and find the causes of the mold and the conditions which are conducive. And then number three, if they can test on site, it's going to save the buyer a lot of money, because otherwise they're hiring somebody to come out and do that work that's already been done. So those are some really important things when you're buying a house and you're hiring a home inspector. Make sure they can do that for you.
So ultimately, you're helping the home buyer figure out whether or not this problem is a big problem or a little problem. And that's something that's important to know. But also for home sellers who are doing the pre-listing inspection, which is the inspection that you do, you're also going to want to know this. Because if the buyer finds out, now you just lost all the leverage in the world. If it's something that you figure out on your own, maybe it is a small repair.
Correct.
You can have it done. The buyer's inspector won't see a thing.
Well, that's the biggest reason for getting a pre-listing inspection. You as the seller have the opportunity to negotiate and find contractors who are on your side, who are going to do a proper repair, but do it reasonably. if a buyer is going to get somebody who talks up the price, you know, it could be a relative, could be somebody they know, or they just go out in a panic and just try and find anybody, and they're going to come in and say, oh, well, that repair is $20,000, $30,000. It's very hard for you as a seller to say, oh no, my contractor can take care of it for $500. You know, cut out the sheetrock and repaint. Now they've got $20,000 in their head, and they're going to ask you for that as the seller to do it, you know, to get that remediation or to come back off the price. So as a seller, if you really wanted to, it's just like a Carfax. You know, you could have this mold test done just like the pre-listing inspection and say, look, the house has a clean bill of health. We had mold air samples done. If they did find anything, you want to repair it and disclose that. That's a great disclosure. Or if it's perfectly clean, you hand that over with the pre-listing inspection and say this house is ready to go, just like a used car that you've had serviced and checked out and Carfax and everything.
Yep.
Get a higher price.
The absolute best way to go. Philippe Heller, thank you so much for your
My
time
pleasure.
today, man. Really
All right.
appreciate it.
See you
Philippe
soon.
Heller with the Real Estate Inspection Company. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
The atmosphere at Belmont Village is vibrant. We're a community built for life. We thrive and promote independence, engagement, social activity. It's an environment where we want our residents to have fun. And the beauty of it really is it allows our residents to age in place. They don't need to move. This is home.
When you belong to a community, it makes you feel safe. It inspires you to thrive. It honors your achievements, and it makes you feel at home. For nearly 20 years, Belmont Village Senior Living has created communities that have enriched the lives of seniors and their families, providing places where seniors lead healthy, purposeful lives under the care of staff who truly understand their needs. Belmont Village offers assisted living, independent living, and memory care in a continuum that supports residents when care needs change and providing for couples of varying care needs.
It's nice that we can be together. She needs a little bit more care than I do, and I don't have to do any cooking or shopping.
Aging is a gift. We invite you to embrace it with us and be a part of our community and our family. Belmont Village Senior Living, the community built for life.
Welcome to Senior Stay or Go TV. Today our guest is Beverly Sanborn. She is a licensed clinical social worker, a gerontologist, and the Vice President of Program Development at Belmont Village Senior Living. Welcome, Beverly. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Beverly, thank you for coming today. We are really thrilled to have your expertise here today. And our first topic, we're going to talk greatly about Belmont Village's award-winning programs, but we want to talk about the Cognitive Reserve Program. What is it, and why is it important to people to know about it?
Well, cognitive reserve is actually very important. It's one of the hottest topics today, because basically what cognitive reserve is it is developing extra neural pathways in your brain so that you have extra neurons, extra nerve cells that can hop into action. They're in reserve. They've been developed and they're in reserve, and they can go into action and fill in if there's any assault on your brain, such as having Alzheimer's disease, plaques or tangles. They can come and help out. It doesn't mean that you won't get dementia. If you already have an Alzheimer's process, for example, it doesn't mean that it is a cure. But what it can do is delay symptoms. It looks like that is a possibility, that it will delay symptoms. So cognitive reserve is developing it and building it is probably one of the most interesting and important kinds of tasks that we can do as we get older. We really need to devote attention to doing that. One of the areas that you want to develop that's very important is the frontal lobe. That's this part of the brain here, because this is the part of the brain that is what they call the executive function. This is the part that gives you the ability to plan. And
I don't have much of that one.
Well, that one.
I need exercises for that.
That we all do. You know, we're becoming a little lazy brain, as a matter of fact. Some of the neurologists say we are becoming a little lazy brain.
Too much on the smartphone.
Yeah, too much on the smartphone, that's right. But that, in fact, it is actually true. There is some concern that people are not using and challenging their frontal lobe enough. Yeah, and that one really requires a lot of additional effort that we tend not to do.
So before we go on to Patty's question, is this something that we should think about when we're in our 30s and start exercising our frontal lobes then, or is it just something later on?
Well, the frontal lobe, we probably should start when we're in our teens. Actually.
Well, yeah.
put the phones down and the texting and tweeting just for a minute, and work a little bit on it. But yes, sadly enough, the Alzheimer process in particular, and Alzheimer's is the most common of all the dementias. That process starts about 25 years before you have a symptom. So you really need to start in middle age. And the frontal lobe is an emphasis that pretty much requires being in company, being in a group, because it requires organizing your thinking and describing what you're thinking to another person. So you can do it alone if you write, but it's harder to make yourself do it. So, and that, yes, that is what we need to do. Now, here's another thing too. One of the exercises for frontal lobe is to not force yourself not to use cliches. Like, for example, awesome. You know how we use awesome as noun, adjective, adverb. Try to find more clever, interesting words to describe what you're meaning when you say the word awesome. Or if you say amazing, we say this is amazing or that is amazing. Try to find another word. Or I'm very excited. Or I'm so excited about doing whatever. Well, don't say excited. Try to force yourself to say something else, some other clever way of expressing yourself.
I'm thrilled to have you here.
That's a good start.
Patty, you want to?
Well, Belmont Village's Circle of Friends program was just honored with the 2016 Best of Memory Care Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that was at the Argentum Senior Living Executive Conference because of the innovation and the advanced excellence in senior living. Is this where your concept of whole brain fitness was developed?
Yeah, well, the concept of whole brain fitness actually started before that, because Belmont has always been kind of at the forefront of translating research into programs. The researchers at all the universities, the UCSD, one of the major universities providing research, give us a lot of ideas of what is working, what is helping people, how do you improve the brain. And we've been translating that for some time. And in fact, researchers at UCSD and at UCLA and at Rush and some of the other universities actually asked Belmont, could we develop a program that would be very specifically therapeutic for their patients who were our residents.
Oh, wow.
So that's really kind of how we started. And then we were translating the research into programs, and then looking at that, we got a program evaluation specialist at the Vanderbilt University, Dr. Sandra Simmons, and she guided and helped us in how to design a program evaluation, because we wanted to see if our programs were matching what the research said we ought to be doing.
Right.
So we're always back and forth, and sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. So we were constantly changing, and we're now in about the 4th iteration of the program. So they're always evolving and changing. But that program was very successful in a variety of ways, not just for the brain, but for the social life and the well-being, the social well-being. And it was so successful, in fact, that everyone else who lived at Belmont wanted a program like that. So that's how we started developing the program and expanding it. So whether you're in the circle or not, there still is a whole brain fitness program.
That any resident has access to.
And even if you're in a later stage of dementia, what we found is that the research primarily focused on mild cognitive impairment, that early phase when you just have a little benign forgetfulness. And we found that the same principles that they had developed in research work with mild and moderate stage, and in fact can improve the functioning and lifestyle in the later stages.
Wow.
Although the later stage right now, that's one of our new emphases. That's one of our new
goals. Does that tie into
goals.
the 6 domains of the mental workout? Is that all
Yes.
related?
Well, there's two dimensions that you want to look at. The 6 domains is a piece of it.
Okay.
There's actually 6 elements also. The reason we called it whole brain fitness rather than mental fitness is because we're looking at how the whole brain works together, the mind, body, spirit, basically. Because the research, the strongest research that we have now, and it is really strong research, is in exercise, the benefit of exercise to the brain.
I'm a perfect example of that.
Yeah, me too. I'm always out there pounding away on the treadmill and whatever, oh my gosh. But I mean, it's just unequivocal. The exercise is absolutely essential and vital, probably because it increases the blood flow and it increases the oxygen to the brain, but it seems to have other factors as well. So anyway, we added that, and then of course there's the diet. You read a lot about diet. And so we have a heart healthy, basically it's heart healthy diet, the Mediterranean diet, where you eat fewer creatures and more bushes, basically. You know, you go for that.
And your big meals at lunch.
And the big one is at lunch, exactly right. Yeah, you kind of don't eat quite as much red meat. That one is difficult to get people to change their diet, though. They'll do the exercise and everything else, but then diet, no. It's none of that tofu, no, we're not doing tofu, no.
The tofu I agree with. I'll go fish. Is that okay?
Fish, and if it swims and flies.
Oh, okay.
Well, and if tofu's done right, it can be very tasty.
It is quite good. It is. But
Sorry. Sorry, America. I ain't going there.
well, that's how my husband feels.
Good.
He said,
I like him already.
He said, "Now forget the tofu part. We'll just go for the other. I'll give up the red meat when you're at home." Well, not it. But the other thing too that's of vital importance is the social group. It's been there's been some very good research on the importance of belonging to a group, of being and having a sense of purpose. So all of those on top of mental workout are what you look at with whole brain fitness. So then the 6 domains, if you kind of ratchet it down, the 6 domains is the piece that is focusing more on the mental workout. So it's 6 domains of the mental workout.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then each of those domains is exercising, like I was telling you with the deltoids, each is exercising a
so it's a
specific
subset
part.
of-
It's a subset of the whole brain fitness.
So it's really a pyramid. You know, you're starting at
Yes.
the top with the whole brain. Am I getting this
Yeah.
right? And then you're kind of coming down into breaking that up into different pieces
Yes,
of the brain.
yes, that's right.
I'm getting it.
Yes.
Patty?
So if someone's still at home, hasn't moved to a senior community, and they would like to improve their memory, how can they get a Just Right challenge on their own at home? Is that even possible?
It is. I have to say that I think it is harder, but it's not impossible. You can do it. Okay, well, the 2 principles that you want to remember, one is the 6 domains. Each of those domains you want to work on. The other is, and this is the cardinal principle, whatever you're doing has to be new to your brain. It has to be absolutely new, and it has to be a mental stretch. So if it's something, so for example,
a challenge.
It has to be. So for example, if we were to just talk about, or you know, your dog, your pet dog, or what you could say, what was your first pet? Let's remember talk about your first pet that you had. And what was your pet's name? We see that would not be new to your brain. And it wouldn't be a mental stretch. It'd be fun. Mm-hmm. It'd be fun, but it wouldn't be new. It wouldn't be a stretch. But if I were to say, why do you think people need to have a pet? What is the value of a pet in your life? Why would people need pets? People have had humans have had pets forever. You know, they found that, you know, going back through time. Why do they need a pet? That, you see, then is new to your brain, and then you're making yourself think or what they call organize an idea. Actually pull an idea together. So you need to have just sitting in front of the TV and not talking about it wouldn't be of value. Well, in fact, if you're watching this program, then what you need to do to make yourself have a mental workout is to think, what are the main points that are going to have some value to me, and how am I going to apply it and they tell someone.
So Beverly, a lot of people come to us for advice on different communities in terms of that, and really Belmont Village being the true leader in the field of memory care, what advice would you give when people come to you and ask you what to look for when they're considering moving a loved one into a memory care community?
Well, you know, of course, the most important factor are always the staff. It's the people who are there, the kind of warmth and caring and nurturing they have. For us at Belmont, it's important that they have, especially if they're leaders of a group, when they're managing because the activity program is a very vital part of maintaining their aging. So we do look for people who have education, who have some education or quite a bit of education actually, or they can be self-educated, but they need to have a world view. They need to have a curiosity about the world, and then they can impart that curiosity to the older adults who are living there. And I would look for that. How curious are they? Is it just Bible, ball toss, and bingo, or is it?
Wait, what was that again? I gotta remember that.
That's the 3 B's.
Can I steal that line from you? Bible, what?
Bible, ball toss, and bingo. That's the 3 B's of assisted living. But you want to see that the program. I mean, there's too much research out there to ignore the need to go beyond that and to really stimulate and challenge your brain. So that would be a key. And then you want to have a program where there is good training of staff. I would definitely ask about the training. How do you train them? Do you just plop them in front of a TV and then they just look at a series of statements and they answer yes or no, or is there actual mentoring and training that goes on?
Mentoring is big.
Yeah, the mentoring is that's really how people learn.
We could go on forever because this is a topic very close to our personal lives, and you have just been a wealth of. I'm trying to think of an adjective verb. As I'm signing off, I'm going, come on, Ron, think of something. Beverly Sanborn, you've been a wonder to have here today, and we thank you for coming on the show. And we will be right back with more Senior Stay or Go TV.
When you belong to a community, it makes you feel safe. It inspires you to thrive. It honors your achievements, and it makes you feel at home. For nearly 20 years, Belmont Village Senior Living has created communities that have enriched the lives of seniors and their families, providing places where seniors lead healthy, purposeful lives under the care of staff who truly understand their needs. Belmont Village offers assisted living, independent living, and memory care in a continuum that supports residents when care needs change and providing for couples of varying care needs.
It's nice that we can be together. She needs a little bit more care than I do, and I don't have to do any cooking or shopping.
Aging is a gift. We invite you to embrace it with us and be a part of our community and our family. Belmont Village Senior Living, the community built for life.
Welcome to Senior Stay or Go TV. We all want to give back to our community, especially with the upcoming holiday season. So today we have Captain Julius Murphy with us from the Salvation Army. Yes. And he's going to tell us about ways we can give back during the holiday season that help people all year long. Welcome, Captain Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So can I call you Captain or Captain Murphy? What do you want to?
Captain Murphy works.
Okay, Captain Murphy.
Yes.
Captain, what role do you have in the Salvation Army, and what drew you to the organization?
My role currently with the Salvation Army, I am a Corps officer. I'm the administrator of the Salvation Army in Oceanside, North County. And I've been a part of the Salvation Army ever since I was about 6 years old.
Oh, wow. 6 years old?
Yes. My family had relocated from Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, back to California, Stockton, California to be exact. And upon our arrival, we did not have a place to live. We only had a suitcase with our clothes in it. And my mom was a single mom of 3 kids. And so we found the Salvation Army. They took us in. They allowed us to, they made it possible for us to live in a hotel for the summer, made sure we had food morning and evening. And then one Sunday, they asked us, would you like to come to church? And my mom, she kind of shook her head. We didn't have the right clothes. We only had cut-off jeans and T-shirts. And the Salvation Army said, no, just come as you are. And so we've been here since. I've been here since. With that said, end of the summer, we were back on our feet. We were stable. And now I feel it my passion and my drive to give back to those who are in similar situations, other single parents or kids that are going through the same thing that my family did. And so that's why I do what I do.
So why do you have kettles and bell ringers every year?
We have kettles for 2 primary reasons. And the first one is to ensure that we're able to help families and even seniors who are in need at Christmas time, to make sure that during the holidays that they're not alone, to ensure that they would have food on Christmas Day or whatever holiday they choose to celebrate, as well as for kids that they have gifts. I can recall as a kid many Christmases where we were adopted. A company or another family would adopt our family at Christmas through the Salvation Army. Oh. And so they would deliver food and toys to our home. And so the kettle program, the red kettle, the money raised there, number one, it helps to support that. And then the other thing that it supports is the Salvation Army year-round. And so through our social services, our food pantry, our senior programs, as well as our after-school programs and so forth, it helps to ensure that that takes place throughout the year. But first priority is to make sure that we're able to provide families help at Christmas.
At the holidays.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned a lot of the different programs. Let's kind of come back to that. So where is this money going? There's like specific programs that you administer or you know about.
For the Red Kettle campaign, I'll say this. The Salvation Army is one nonprofit that, mind you, I'm a little biased.
No, that's good.
That where we say we're going to send our money to, and if we say we're going to use it in this way, that's how we use it. And so with the Red Kettle program, it's unrestricted funds, and so it allows us to allocate that money exactly where the need is for either the season or for the year. So yeah.
So do you see a special need up in, you cover North County?
I cover the North Coastal region of North County. So from Camp Pendleton all the way down to Solana Beach.
Can people just call you and say, I want to give you money? They don't have to do a kettle, right?
No, you don't have to do a kettle. You can make an outright donation to the Salvation Army by check or credit card. You can do it online as well. More people are doing it online these days.
So what is the experience of actual bell ringing? It's something I'm going to be doing this year, but I've never done before. Yes. So I'm just a little curious.
Bell ringing is fun. I have to emphasize that because I remember it's part of my training to be an officer. We have to go out and bell ring. In my time, it was like 21 days, 8 hours a day, we would bell ring to learn the experience and the joy of bell ringing. It's quite a neat opportunity to actually meet our donors and kind of meet the public, those who are giving. It's really neat to watch the kids, age 5, 6, the parents are teaching them how to give and put money in the kettle. And so I also encourage you, if you're going to volunteer 2 to 4 hours, make sure you wear comfortable shoes. Because standing on your feet for an extended period of time, it gets tiring and it sometimes painful. So, but I encourage you to do that. But overall, it's a very pleasant experience. It's joyful. And being able to to be able to encourage others to give to our organization.
Well, it looks like fun because the gentleman we saw last year in New York when we were there for Thanksgiving, he had a boombox and he was dancing away.
Yes, yes. And I like to see that. I like to see individuals who are volunteering bring out talent. So I know you bring out your dog when you
I was just gonna say.
when you volunteer. Others will bring out a musical instrument, or they will dance. Or I've also seen individuals dressed in costumes, such as Darth Vader, or an old military uniform, and that draws people attention. And it's kind of gimmicky, but at the same time, it encourages people to give and reminds them of the joy of giving. Quite frankly, during the holidays, it's a time of year where people become more aware of their condition. So they may become more aware of their loneliness, or because of the busyness, they may be having their own family problems. And so people are shopping and entering stores. They will maybe not have a good day. But if you, as a bell ringer, carry that smile and that joy and just wish them a Merry Christmas, you're going to change their day, maybe even their holiday season, knowing that someone actually cared enough to say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. And so you're doing more than just collecting money for the Salvation Army. You're spreading joy to the customers of the stores.
That's a good way to put it, spreading joy.
Just on a personal note, it put my whole faith back into humanity, because I had a lot of teenagers, coming out and actually without their parents, voluntarily, teenagers putting money in the kettle. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Because you don't really think of a teenager volunteering without parents, hammering them to do it. So I thought it was great.
Very well.
So we thank you for that. But anyway, there are other ways to get involved with the Salvation Army. Mention some of those while we have the time.
Other ways to give to the Salvation Army during the holiday season includes doing an angel tree. Maybe your company or your family, your business would like to adopt a child or a number of children during the season. You can adopt the entire family, similar to the story I shared a little earlier. And you can volunteer. There's a bunch of different ways. I know in downtown San Diego, during Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day, we serve a hot meal to the community. And so hundreds upon hundreds of volunteers come out for that. And so there are many different ways to volunteer. We have a website, www.sandiego.salvationarmy.org. We will have a list of volunteer opportunities for this season there.
So there's somebody can find something to do.
Yes, there's always something to do. If you don't have the time to volunteer, we of course encourage you to give financially, but maybe you want to give a toy. Maybe you want to give a canned good or host a canned food drive. In lieu of gifts at your holiday party, they might want to decide to have their guests bring gifts for kids or food for seniors and so forth.
Well, thank you for being here today, Captain Murphy, and we're going to make this the best year in San Diego history for donations. See this red kettle, everybody? Get your money out and get the money in there right away.
And
ring. Oh, yeah, and you have to have a technique for ringing the bell. Well, thank you so much, and we will be right back with more Senior Stay or Go TV.